with this video? Is it really gonna try to make me do this? I don't want to face. I just want to be me. Hello, hello, hello. Oh my God, I apologize for being late. I'm having technical difficulties on this end. I was trying to do it on my Instagram. But anyway, you all are here. We're doing it on Facebook Live. So hopefully everyone understands and knows that this is where we are doing this. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me. How's everybody doing? I see people are coming on in. Say hello so I can see who you are, where you're coming from, and I hope you are ready for some good stuff tonight. This week has been really, really good. We did our first week. Hey, Star Power, how you doing? We did our first week last Sunday, and I just have to share it with you. So I don't even want to talk about it ahead of time. I just want to share it with you as we get started going in. How's everyone doing today though? Everybody doing good? I'm doing well. I actually got up this morning and I went to my spin class because, you know, I've been trying to get my body together, my mind together, all that good stuff. So I got, about 60 minutes of like hardcore spin in, and I don't know if you've ever been spinning before, but it's a serious workout, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Let me know what you all are doing today. Is everyone at home relaxing, hanging out, chilling, getting ready for the week? Yeah, if you're there and you can hear me and everything is okay, let me know, and then I am going to dive on into this conversation. So let's get started. As you all know, my name is Tara. I am the owner of She Dates Savvy. For those of you who are new or who may not know me, I'm also known as the online dating guru because I help ladies get it right in that dating arena. But I've spent the last couple of weeks, this being the second, just talking about relationships in general and actually getting ready for love. Because what happens is in January, I do my workshops and the ladies are like, oh, I'm ready. I want to jump online. I want to start dating. But they haven't done the work needed and necessary to get there. So I decided that I was going to spend 3 Sundays with you in December, getting you ready for January, and not only January, but beyond that. And so we've been talking about doing the work to get ourselves there. Hey, Chiquita. So last week we talked about doing the heart work, and for some of you who were on the conversation, you probably saw I went back through the comments and I offered, if you were interested in getting a complimentary, that means free, copy of my workbook PDF to go along with this as you're doing this work, please let me know. You can send me a message when we're done with your email address and I'll get that sent over to you. But last week, like I said, we talked about doing the heart work. That meant healing our hearts and getting ourselves ready for that next thing, because a lot of times what happens is we move from one thing to the next thing and we haven't done the healing. And so I got an email from a woman who it brought me to tears. Hey, Monica, it brought me to tears. And so she knows I'm sharing a bit about this. Obviously I would never say who it is, but it just let me know that we were going to spend a little bit more time getting a little bit deeper today as we started talking about the next part, which is the relationship autopsy. I want to kind of go back though and talk about the heart work. So this young lady sent me an email saying that she described a scenario between her and the guy she's seeing. Okay, I do something called Dear She Dates Savvy, and people send me notes all the time asking like, what's my opinion on it, right? And so it kind of started off like a simple Dear She Dates Savvy. And so when she explained the scenario that she was in, I was like, yeah, it sounds messed up to me too, because it was kind of like, it felt messed up to her, but she wasn't sure. So she just needed someone else to confirm and co-sign. You know, sometimes we need a co-signer. So I was willing to co-sign for her that yes, what happened to you was absolutely not right. So then we kept exchanging messages. And so then she shared something with me and she says, here's what's going on with me. I was in a relationship in the past and I contracted an STD. Okay. And as a result, I have been dating men from sites where people have different STDs. Okay. when she shared that, it immediately made sense what she was going through, right? Because she put herself in a position to believe that she was not worthy of anything good from a man because she had this STD, okay? Even though she hadn't had any outbreaks or anything like that, and she's obviously open with the men that she's dated and told them about what her situation is, she clumped herself in this situation with men who were only going to be around because they knew she had this STD, this thing that she was carrying, and therefore maybe didn't feel so good about herself, right? And her value and her worth. And I told her straight up, that's BS, okay? That's absolutely BS, because what's happened is you brought your worth and your value down, right? Because these men, they are going to treat you any kind of old way because they think, oh, she's here because she doesn't think she can do any better. When at the end of the day, she's absolutely the prize, right? She's a great woman. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's a great mother. All of those things. But because of this thing that she's carrying around, she's believed that she's not worthy of better love or a better relationship from a man. And I told her, absolutely you are. And bigger than that though, I want to share, because again, we carry so much stuff around. So I'm going to just go through a list of stuff that some of us might still be carrying around and that we need to heal from so we can get free, right? Because we're none of these things. We are none of the things that we've experienced and gone through in the past. So I just want to go through some of those scenarios. If it sounds familiar to you, if you need to be free from it, if you get free tonight, my job is done. I just need you all to know that what you've been through in the past, what you've done in the past, does not determine the type of love that you are worthy of. Okay, so let me go through this list. First off, your worth is not determined by that STD that you contracted. Okay, it's not determined by the abusive relationship that you were in where you stayed too long. It's not. It's not determined by the relationship with the married man, whether you knew he was married or not. It's not determined by that. If you've decided that I'm not that person anymore, you have to free yourself from that. That's part of the healing. Heal from that situation. You are not the nightclub that you used to dance in. Okay? You're not. You are absolutely not that. You are not the weight that you've gained. Right? Because a lot of us are carrying that weight around and we think, oh, but I'm this and I'm that and I can only get. No, you are worth so much more than that. You are not the credit score. Some of y'all walking around with jacked up credit and thinking, well, ain't nobody gonna love me. Girl, get that fixed. Get that fixed. Do not let someone come into your life and treat you any old kind of way because you haven't healed from those bags. You are not the addiction that you used to have. You're just not. You are not that thing. You are not the child that you had out of wedlock. I'm sorry, but you are not. You are not that thing. There is life after having a child out of wedlock. Hello, been there, done that. There is life and goodness after that. And if anyone tells you differently, they are a lie and they are not for you. You are more worthy than the abortion that you had. And this is all serious talk, and I know it might be uncomfortable for some of us, but I need you to know that some of the stuff that you're carrying around from relationship to relationship to relationship has you thinking that you're not worthy, and that's just not the case, right? You're not the bad decision and choices that you've made. Maybe you've been in jail before. You're not that anymore. If you live your life in a certain way now that is not reflective of your past, you are not those things. You are not those mistakes that you've made in your past. And you've got to promise me and yourself. Shanika says it. She says, I am not my past. I am not my past. Tera is not her past. Thank you, Jesus. I am not my past. I am not the things that I've been through, right? I am worth so much more than allowing someone to treat me any kind of way. What's the old saying that it says, when your past calls to remind you of itself, don't pick up the phone? You can pick up the phone and say, I ain't that no more. I am not my past anymore. So you can keep it moving, right? So I needed to start today letting you all know that I hear you. And I understand that a lot of us are carrying some heavy stuff, some deep stuff. But ladies, you are not those things. You are absolutely not those things. You are not your past. You are not the experiences that you've been through. We all got a lot of stuff that we're carrying around, but you are not those things. And if anyone has ever tried to make you feel, think, or believe that because you've done XYZ in your past that you're not worth anything or valued or loved or capable of being loved, it's a lie. Tera is telling you right now, it's a lie. If you believe that it's a lie, let me know it's a lie. Because ladies, I need us to get free, because what happens, y'all, it shows up in that next relationship, right? Whether it is that you're taking something that you don't deserve, whether it is that you're overextending yourself and giving too much, it's all because we're still carrying that stuff around. And so even though I never could have imagined that someone on the other end listening would have had something so heavy that they were carrying around, I absolutely know. Joy and Donna say that it is a lie. Yes, it is, ladies. It is a lie. I know that it's my responsibility to share with you that your worth is not determined by those things that you've been through, by those past experiences. Shanika says it's a lie. So I need y'all to know that before we even go a step further, because those are the things that when we talk about healing, we got to get healed from and set ourselves free from. So I just had to get that out, because she's hurting because she believes that she's not worthy of a man's love outside of someone who is going to treat her a certain kind of way based on an STD that she has, right? An STD that she has. And we're in the day and age, and we talk about STDs where there are medications for everything. I remember doing a story years ago when HIV and AIDS were really big. And I remember doing a story with a lady, and she had one of those little caboodles, like the makeup caboodles, full of drugs. Like she was up to 20 drugs a day that she had to take to manage her HIV. Y'all, they're down to a pill or two a day, right? So things have changed. And when you talk about other STDs, there are things that you can take that keep outbreaks from happening, right? So for her, thinking that she's got to limit herself to that cesspool of men who are moving from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship with women, and probably further perpetuating it, right? Because they think that, oh, she's over here on this side because she knows she can't do any better, or she thinks she can't do any better, right? So I just need you all to know that if you are carrying any of those things that we talked about just a few minutes ago, first of all, as Renee is saying, it is a lie. And more than that, you are absolutely more worthy than your past and the scenarios that you have been through. So that's my 2 cents on that part, as we were talking about just from last week's work and doing the heart work and getting our hearts together. So this week, we are talking about the relationship autopsy. That's a term I created myself, y'all, because I love crime shows. When I was a little girl, I used to watch the reruns of Quincy, and I thought I was going to be like a CSI agent or something like that, investigator. I love that kind of work. I actually, really random fact about me, I have an associate's in mortuary science. So in funeral directing and embalming. That's right. I went to mortuary school. That's how much I was into the whole autopsy and just how the body worked and what happened after death. So when I talk about the relationship autopsy, I'm so serious about this, right? And so what is an autopsy? We hear these terms on television, you know, when a person dies of suspicious reasons or, you know, traumatic reasons, or maybe even unexplained, you always hear them talk about, you know, the medical examiner is going to do an autopsy, right? And so when I think about a relationship, I mean, we can be honest and tell most of our relationships have ended under suspicious circumstances. Yeah. Sometimes unexplained circumstances. Sometimes they've been traumatic, and then even dramatic, right? So I want to spend a little bit of time tonight talking to you all about relationships relationship autopsies. That means going back and looking at those past relationships and seeing, where did things go wrong? What had happened? How did we get here? And bigger than that, ladies, owning our stuff and our responsibility and our role in that. Because it's so easy to say, well, he did this to me and he did that and he did, and when he did and I did. No, we got to own our own stuff. So tonight I'm actually going to share with you, thank you, Jesus, what I've been freed from, because it's my past. It is not my current. It's not my future, but it's something that I went through. And that's a prior relationship that I had before meeting my husband. So here we go. So I found myself in a relationship with a man who, at the end of the day, our core values and beliefs were absolutely off, right? He didn't believe in marriage. Y'all, my mother and father have been married 54 years, okay? So I kind of believe in that sanctity a whole lot, right? But I found myself in this relationship with this man who did not believe in marriage. He did not believe in going to church or worship. I don't even know if he had a spiritual connection. But what happened is I found myself saying, good Lord, you got to sacrifice a whole lot. He ain't going to go to church with you. That's one thing. This whole idea that you may have somewhere in your life about being married, he doesn't believe in that either, right? Even though there was one time we were having a conversation and I said, so what do you think about if we did maybe like, a little party with our friends and family, just kind of like a celebration of our love. Like we could even do like a ring exchange or whatever. And he's like, yeah, that sounds really good. And I'm like, oh, and then we could have a party after and everything. He's like, yeah, that's good. And I'm like, fool, that's a wedding. Like that's a full-on commitment ceremony. But for him, he's like, yeah, but when you start talking about the paperwork and all the other stuff, I don't understand and believe in all that, right? So what did I have to do? I had to finally come to a place of saying, you're not wrong in believing what you believe in. I'm not wrong for believing in what I believe in and wanting what I want, but it doesn't match. Our things don't match, right? And so that relationship ended. Now, I could have easily walked around saying, yeah, and he didn't want this and he didn't want that. And no, but what did I do? It took me a while because it was so uncomfortable. I write about this in my book, Smart Girls Don't Date Dumb. And that book took me a year to write because that chapter was so hard. Jesus, that chapter was so hard for me to deal with and face because I had to go back and do the relationship autopsy and I had to own my stuff, right? Where did my ownership come in? The first thing is, this was one of those friendships that morphed into a relationship. That can be dangerous, ladies. Why is that dangerous? Because when he's your homeboy or your friend, and if anyone out there has ever gotten into a relationship with someone that they were friends with first, and then it kind of just developed into a relationship, let me know, and let me know if you understand that there were many questions that I didn't ask because honestly, I didn't care. Right? So if I'm on a date with a guy that I'm looking at as a potential suitor, I got my 55 questions. I need to know, what are your thoughts on this, and this, right? But because we started off as friends, it was a very dangerous situation because I didn't care about that. I didn't care about his views on God and church. I didn't care about his views on marriage and relationships. It also didn't ding, 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 ding in my head that he'd been in a relationship for about 10 or 15 years with the woman before me. And they had never gotten married, y'all. Right? Because my whole thing was, I don't care about the last chick. I ain't worried about the next one. I'm just worried about me, right? But because I didn't do that digging to find out, well, wait, hold on. That's a long time to have your car parked in someone's driveway. Remember, we talked about that last week. Your car is just parked in the driveway. And you're not even putting it in gear, trying to move it or anything, right? But I didn't care because this was my friend. But then what happened? We move from friendship to being way too comfortable to, oh, now we're in a relationship. Now we're in a thing. Now we're just kind of like, what are we doing? We're obviously doing something and we're together now, right? And so now all of those things that I did not ask myself or ask him in the beginning, when it really gets down to me looking at the fact that I've been in a thing with a man for what ended up being 4 years, y'all, I didn't ask the questions. So who could I be mad at? Him or me? It hurt like hell, but Tera had to go back and look and say, ooh, baby girl, you played yourself. You put yourself in a scenario where you didn't ask the questions. And then once you did kind of find out, you were too far in, right? And so I can look back at that relationship and see completely where I am responsible. And so tonight, as we talk about the relationship autopsy, I want you all to start thinking about those past relationships. And I know we've just talked about letting our past go. Yes, letting all those things that we listed. And if you're just joining the conversation, you are more than welcome, obviously, to go back in and listen, because I started the conversation talking about an email that I'd gotten from a woman who was finding herself in some really bad relationships. That's the best way to describe it. And it was based on the fact that she had an STD, and based on the fact that she thought that no one was going to want her because that was something from her past that she still carried. And so we had to talk about getting free from those situations. So I really, really, really want you all to go and listen to that, right? But when we talk about where we are with the relationship autopsy, I had to take responsibility for what I allowed to happen. So when I tell you to go back and look at it, I just mean to look at it and stare at that thing in the face and say, what was my role in this? What was my part? What did I let happen because maybe I didn't want to start over? Maybe I was afraid to get back out there. Maybe I thought that was the best I could do at the time. Maybe I really believed that that person loved me. Whatever those reasons are, I want you to go back and look at that relationship and figure out what was your responsibility in it. Okay? And then I want you to look at what are some of the patterns that you've had in past relationships. I can honestly say that prior to meeting my husband, I was the queen of the silent treatment. I'm a Scorpio. I'm born November 8th. If Kim Williams is still on the live, she can tell you that this is absolutely true about Scorpios, because she is my astrology sister. She is absolutely into astrology like I am, and to the letter. So Scorpios are very much so, we can kind of cut you off, right? And I would do it in relationships, y'all. Like, just stop calling you. Like, you make me upset and I'm done. I don't have a conversation. So nobody can really tell you that, oh, you know, Tera argue back and forth. Lies they tell. I'm not arguing with anybody. I'm not arguing with anyone, because it's so much easier for me to just cut you off and be done. Are there situations and times where that's obviously not been beneficial? Absolutely. But in relationships in the past, it was just who I was. It was who I was, and I wasn't changing anything about it. Okay? So then comes along my husband. And y'all, I really like my husband. And I liked and loved my husband back then too. So now what am I going to do? I done met this man. And I don't want to be that girl anymore. Ooh, I don't want to be that girl anymore who found it easier to walk away than work through. So what did I have to do? I got to go back in and do the work. And I'm telling y'all this because I know for a fact that I am where I am right now in my marriage and my relationship because I learned to work through those things, right? And so when we talk about being hurt, feeling abandoned, or any of those other things that we carry around, I don't take it lightly because I understand, because I've been there. But what I also know is on the other side of that is goodness, right? And so the queen of the silent treatment, which is what I would call myself, because I mean, like I said, I don't have to have the conversation with you. I could just be done and I could cut you off. But I finally met someone who made me want to be better, who made me want to communicate and say, hey, here's how I'm thinking and feeling right now. Give me a little bit of time to process it, and then I'll come back and talk to you about it, right? Because that's really what I was feeling in those other relationships, but I didn't give a damn enough to let him know. I didn't care enough to actually let him know what was happening. But here comes someone else who challenged me to be different, right? And so had I not done that work, had I not been willing to do the work, you know, last week some of y'all talked about having your walls up, right? And not being able to trust or let people in because your walls are up so high. And that's because you've not yet done that work. You've not yet done that work to know and release the fact that he's not him. We talked about that last week. He's not him. And you can't treat him the way that you've treated the last ones. Because what would have happened if I would have tried the silent treatment with my husband, who was a completely different man? I would have missed out on the best thing that God ever had for me, that I absolutely, positively believe in. I would have missed out on the best thing that God had for me because I didn't feel like doing the work, because it was easier for me to walk around holding on to the old stuff and walking away. Oh my God, Andrew, you said it. He did. He absolutely challenged me to be different without even challenging me. I wanted to be different because I wanted him in my life. And so when we talk about relationships and dating, I understand that everyone is not going to be that person that challenges you, right? He's not going to be the one that makes you say, God damn, I got to do the work. It's just not. He's not going to be. But what I want you to know is it's important for you to start doing this work, because guess what? One day, the right one is going to come along. The guy who does make you say, whoa, I can't be that girl anymore. He is going to come along. So when we look at those patterns, right? I need you to realize, what were some of the things that I did? So I've told you mine. Like I guess I'm just having therapy tonight, but it's worth it because I want to see you all succeed in love and life and relationships. Like, so, life is so much better when you've let go of the bitterness and the hurt and the betrayal and every single thing that we carry around, right? So I want you to look, Mel says it, work, 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 right? We could play the Rihanna song, work, work, work. There's so much work, but it's so worth it. I think Star Power said it earlier. Anything worth having is worth working for. And it absolutely is. It absolutely is, ladies. So when we talk about, what are those patterns, I want you to look back at them. And if we say, but I don't trust men, right? I can't let them in. You got to go back and do an autopsy from a relationship, because you'll find out why. You'll find out who. You'll find out what caused you not to trust. And I guarantee you it has nothing to do with the new guy, right? So the last thing that we want to talk about is, what was my role or responsibility in allowing those patterns to continue? And this one is hard, ladies, right? Because if we think about, let's go to something simple, like, saying, because I guess a lot of people deal with this and it's common. I don't mean it's simple like that. But when we think about, if we think about a man who's cheating, a man who's constantly cheating on you, right? Because unfortunately, there are women who are like, oh, he cheated on me left and right. He cheated on me every time he had, right? So when we go back and look at that relationship, I'm going to ask you, what was your role and responsibility? And no, I'm not talking about sex or what you did or didn't do, because that's BS. That is absolute BS. And I won't even entertain that part of the conversation. But when we talk about, what did you put in place? So if he's cheating on you, were you at home every time when he came back home from cheating? Right? Did you put up your did you require that he not? And by that I mean, were you in a situation where you said, listen, if this is how you want to live, it's not how I want to, so I'm out of here, right? Because we know a person will only do to us what we allow, right? So when we go back and look at our role and responsibility, yes, he was absolutely wrong for cheating on you. But what could you have done differently to not have stayed in that relationship for 8 years, right? And I know, again, it's not as simple as just get up and leave. But what could you have done differently in those relationships and scenarios? For me, I could have absolutely stuck to my guns when I said, I don't want to be with you no more. Because there were many, many, many times where we were going back and forth and back and forth. I don't think I had that many breakups in any type of relationship, but I knew it wasn't where I needed to be, but I didn't stick to my guns, right? So that's how we got 4 years into the scenario. And then I finally said, enough is enough. And for those of you who do not know my story, when I keep going back to the analogy of the car parked in the driveway. So y'all, it really is a book, which is why I wrote it as a book. But we broke up on, well, let me go back. I was done with him in about October of 2014, right? But we're still doing the dance, going back and forth. Like, oh, what we gonna do? What we working on, right? So then by February of 2015, I'm really ready. I'm really done. I'm really going to move on. He boomerangs again, right? And the boomerang is for real a boomerang because by this time I'm living in Houston. He's still in LA and he's like, hey, I'll be in town. And now I'm like, oh God, here we go. Here we go again. So he comes with me on what will basically be a trip that changed both of our lives. He comes to my nephew's wedding with me. Okay? He comes to the wedding with me, and at that wedding I say, you can't tell me I can't have this, right? It's like an epiphany. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't the girl who's walking around saying, I gotta get married. There are a lot of ladies out there who are very much so, I gotta get married, I gotta get married. That wasn't the final destination for me. It was absolutely not the final destination for me. Judy says, I remember because she was there. She does remember. We talk relationship stuff, right? We talk guy stuff and relationships. So here's the thing. I wasn't a girl who was running around saying, I've got to get married. Okay? That was not my story. But what ended up happening is I decided, taking my responsibility back, that you couldn't tell me what I couldn't have. Right? And so part of it is, again, that's that Scorpio in me where it's like I'm very headstrong. I know what I want. You can't tell me what I can't have. So Thursday, he leaves, goes back to LA, and I'm done. I told y'all already that I cut people off. I have no conversation. There wasn't any argument or anything. I had nothing else to say. I was done. So that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he sends me a message. He says, you're being quiet. Yeah. I write him back and said, I'm done. Y'all, there was no arguing back and forth. There was no, but why? He knew why. He knew why, because we've been through the scenario many times, right? But I was finally standing up for myself, taking responsibility for my parts in the relationship and what I'd allowed to happen and what I maybe contributed to. But I said, I'm done. That was on a Saturday. Now, that Sunday comes, and remember, because I don't want y'all thinking I'm loose and fast, right? In October, I told you I was done. But y'all know how you let stuff linger and the person, you know, they still call, you still try and all that stuff. He leaves that, we talked that Saturday, I say I'm done. That Sunday, I hop online. Because now I'm in a new city. I haven't been single in Houston in a really long time because I hadn't lived here in a while. It took us 7 years. And I go online. I see the picture of the man who will become my husband. Okay? Judy says, like a water faucet, cut it off. Absolutely, y'all. I see the picture, though, of the man who will become my husband. Right? And why is that significant, y'all? Because had I not done the work, had I not cut it off when I absolutely would have missed out on what was out there for me. Right? And so when we talk about relationships and people who we let stay around too long and things that we go through, y'all, it's important because we are literally talking about missing out on your destiny, missing out on what is your future. And I know people say, you know, what is for me? It is, but we also got to do the work. We have to do the work and we have to position ourselves for those things. And so I know for a fact, had I not cut that other thing off, somebody else probably would have swooped on in, got my husband and all that good stuff. But it was because I was able to do the work and obviously know right then and there what I was not going to allow happen in my life. And then even on the backside of it, going back and looking at how did I get to a situation where I was in a relationship for 4 years with someone who fundamentally did not believe in what I believed in. And wasn't a bad guy, y'all, because I think that's another thing, because we want to bash somebody. I'll never bash him. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a bad man to me. He wasn't. It's just that we wanted two different things. So if he ever sees this, he'll never say that Tara said that I was a bad man. I never said that. But you weren't the man for me. And I'm bold enough to say that. So I want you all, ladies, I want you to really go back like over this next week, because next week we're going to be talking about making your vision plain. You know, everybody does their vision boards and everything like that. But it's like, but do you know what it is that you're looking for? Like, what is that vision? And so I think that if we start back at lesson 1, which was doing the heart work, like what are those things that we're still carrying around? What are those lies that we're still telling ourselves? And I see that there are some of you who are joining us now who maybe weren't here last week. I would encourage you to go back and watch last week's. I would absolutely encourage you to go back and watch this from the top, because we went into a bit of the heart work a lot deeper tonight. And then we moved on over to the relationship autopsy, right? Because if you can determine where you've been and what you've been through, you can more easily see what it is that you want, right? Because if it's not clear, if it's just foggy, you're just walking in a fog. Like you can't see the future. You can't think about the future. You don't know what the future is. So I want you all to really start doing this work, because when we talk next week, we're literally talking about what is your vision for your next love and relationship? Do you have a vision? If anyone right now has a vision for what that next relationship, that next love thing is going to look like, let me know. I have a vision. Shanae, you're absolutely right. The heart work is so important. And that's the part that keeps us in a loop. You know, we're like in the hamster wheel, because we refuse to do the hard work. And sometimes it's not even just a refusal. Sometimes we don't know how. Sometimes we don't know we need to. But I'm telling you right now, you need to, because if not, it's going to keep showing up in those relationships. It's going to keep showing up in every relationship. One thing I learned, again, y'all, this is the deepest and most vulnerable I've ever been in a relationship, right? Because again, it's easy to cut you off. Why do I have to talk about it and cut it off, right? But I didn't want to do that with this man. So one day I was reading an article from Brene Brown, and she had an article in O Magazine. And she talked about her husband coming home from work, going in the refrigerator and looking and slamming the door like, oh, God, we don't have any bread, right? The man just opened the refrigerator door, he closed it. He said, we don't have any bread. We don't have anything to make a sandwich for. She heard him saying, you're a bad wife. You're a terrible mother. You're a terrible homemaker. You can't even get groceries for our house to keep us afloat and give me a sandwich because I'm a working man who comes home and I just want to eat a sandwich, right? That's what she heard. That is not what he said. Not what he said, but what she heard was something different, because she started writing the script in her head about what his action and what his statement meant. Y'all, it blew my mind. It blew my mind, because I realized, oh snap, I do that. He says one thing, I hear something else, and I start fighting a different battle. Has nothing to do with what he said, but all up in here, I hear something different, and what happens? I start fighting a different battle. And so what happens is I read that article and I showed it to him. I'm like, oh my God, I do this, right? Because again, owning my stuff. I know who I am. I'm old enough to know who I am. And so what happened is I learned how to communicate with him in a whole different way. Why? Because I was bold enough to say, I know you just said that that the water, there's no more water in the refrigerator and you needed to make your drink. But in my head, I heard that, oh my God, Tara, why didn't you go and get the water and make sure I had enough water so that when I made my energy drink in the morning, that it would be nice and ice cold? That's what I heard, because I made it up in here. I made it up in here, right? And it completely changed our relationship, because he would say, I don't know what you're talking about. I said what I said, and you're making up something completely different. Y'all, there was a freedom that came from that, because I realized that I was creating drama in my head. Drama in my head that had nothing to do with the real life situation. So when I talk about yes, we are at war with ourselves. Sometimes it's all in here. You know, we walk around with our defenses up. We're ready to fight because you're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to treat me this way. Who you think you're talking to? Oh, not me. Right? We walk around with all of that. And it's just not what it should be, especially when we talk about being in relationships. And that's why it's important to do the work, because sometimes we're still carrying around what Bobby Joe did to us, right? So when this guy looks at us a certain kind of way, oh, who you think, right? You ready to pop off. And that's not what it is. So again, as we talk about moving forward, we're talking about the vision. So I really want to make sure that we get these weeks of work together, because next week when we start talking about that vision, you got to know what you're looking for. You have to know what you're looking for. And why is that important? Because when anything other than that comes along, you can say, sorry, boy, bye, next, move on, right? So that is where I'm going to leave things right now. Again, if you are hearing this for the first time, or if you are tuning in right now, or maybe caught the second half, please, please, please go back to the top and listen to this, because we went deep and it was necessary. And I want you all to know that you are so much more than your past. These are the takeaways. You're so much more than your past. You are worth so much more than the things that you've been through. And you can do the work to be better. Before I finish up, any questions, any last comments, or anything like that? Also, don't forget, because I almost forgot again, if you would like to get the complimentary PDF, the workbook, so that you can kind of start working through your things. The questions aren't exactly what we talked about today. They do come from the book, but they're good. They're good questions that actually have to do with what it is that we're moving forward with, as far as like what those goals are, what are those things from your past that you need to let go of. So it's really good work. So if you want that PDF, you can send me an email when we're done. Just DM me here, and I will get your email address and I'll send them out to you tomorrow. And I really want you to do the work. I really want you to do the work. I don't share my story lightly. If you notice, I'm not sharing this on my personal page, because it ain't that. This is, you all have trusted me enough to follow my brand, to follow me, to have an interest, or whatever it is that brought you here. And so I really want you to know I'm sharing my stuff, because I do believe that somewhere in it you see yourself. I do believe that somewhere in it you can say, God, if Tara got through it and made it, I know I can too, right? That's what I want you to look at. right? Because at the end of the day, I'm a little girl from the north side of Houston. So anything you see me doing, don't forget that part, right? Don't forget that part, don't forget that part. I'm a girl who did the work, but there was nothing that said that this was supposed to happen. So I don't want you to think like, oh, well, yeah, of course she can, because nah, girl, I did the work. I did the work, and I continue doing the work every single day for everything that it is that I want. So I want you to understand that I'm sharing this because I really, 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 I want to see you all do better. I want to see you prosper in your relationships and just in life in general. I really, really do. So if there aren't any more questions or comments, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for spending this evening with me. And I look forward to next Sunday, 6 p.m. We'll be back on Facebook Live again. And next week is Making Your Vision Plain. And I'm actually going to have a surprise guest. Yeah. So tune in for that, especially as we talk about, what you're looking for in a relationship. Hi, Michelle. You have to do the work. Michelle said you have to do the work every single day. You can't take a break. Girlfriend, don't I know? Don't I know and understand? Y'all heard me say I was at the spin class this morning. I was at the spin class because I'm working on some things over here too. So as I'm telling you to work on your goals and your relationships and life and love and all that stuff, it may not be, well, first of all, I still work on relationship stuff with my husband. Let's be real clear about that. I absolutely do, because getting married ain't the prize, y'all. There is still work to be done. There is still work to be done. But the only amazing thing about it is that I want to do the work with the person that I love. Like, there is no, we walking away and we leaving because I don't want, nah, man, I'm not going anywhere. We're in this thing. But it absolutely does require work. It requires work, right? So I'm doing the work, and I'm excited that you all are here and invested to do the work. So you let me know what I can do to help you. If you want to send me a private email, my email address is shedatessavvy@gmail.com. That's, wait, I got my shirt on. That's shedatessavvy@gmail.com. So you can send me a note, message, any questions you have about what we talked about today or last Sunday, or as we're moving forward. I really do. I want to hear from you. So thank you all again. Any last questions before we go? I see you all are still there, and I so appreciate you. Whitney says, I want to do the work with the person I love. That's the only way it's going to work, y'all. You have two people who want to do the work. And so right now, for those who are in a single season, this is the best time to work on you. Donna, you want a shirt? Donna, girl, don't make me go get these shirts ordered. I can do that. Look, I'm thinking about doing shirts and cups or mugs because we drink our coffee and our tea and all that stuff. So look for that in 2019, Donna, because guess what? She dates savvy. So that's even being married, y'all, still date savvy. So thank you all so much for your time this evening, and I look forward to hearing from you. Again, if you want that PDF, send me a note. Oh, Star Power wants one too. Okay, it's done. Let me get working on that. If you want that PDF, send me over an email. You can just DM my She Dates Savvy box here, or send me a personal email with your email address, and I will get it over to you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you all next Sunday. We're talking about making your vision plain. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.